The movie starts in a small town called Hope Spring. Kathy wakes up in the morning, goes downstairs, and gets ready for her day. She heads to her diner, where she meets her head chef and talks to a few customers. After leaving the diner, Kathy watches some kids building snowmen. Then, she takes some food to Mel and Theo. They thank her and ask how she's been. Jane shares the story of how she met her husband. Theo gets a scarf for Kathy, and Mel hands it to her. Kathy smiles and then leaves. At night, Kathy visits the snowmen and notices one of them doesn't have a scarf. She takes the scarf she has and puts it on the snowman. Then, she takes a picture of it and heads home. Later that night, something magical happens. The snowman comes to life. He starts wandering around naked and sees an older couple walking. When he tries to say hello, the man gets scared and falls. The couple starts following the snowman. He spots some clothes in a store, goes inside, and takes a few to wear. The next morning, on her way back to the diner, Kathy sees the snowman talking to the other snowmen. Surprised, she takes the snowman with her to the restaurant and gives him some food. Her chef sees the snowman and gets worried, thinking he might be dangerous. But Kathy doesn't agree and believes he's harmless. At Mel and Theo's clothing shop, Sheriff Hunter stops by to check things out. He meets Mel and Theo, but accuses them of trying to claim insurance money. After that, he leaves the shop. Meanwhile, at Kathy's restaurant, she talks to the snowman and asks him his name. He says he doesn't know. Kathy suggests the name Jack, pointing to his jacket, and he agrees. She then asks what he remembers. Jack tells her he remembers her giving him the scarf and taking a picture of him. Kathy starts to freak out when she realizes what's happening. Jack says he feels really hot in the restaurant, but when Kathy checks, he's actually very cold. Thinking he might have hypothermia, she decides to take him to a doctor. Meanwhile, Sheriff Hunter and his deputy get a call from a couple about a man running naked through the streets. The deputy tells Hunter, and they decide to investigate. At the hospital, Dr. Dottie examines Jack and notices he's very cold. When Jack says he was a snowman, no one believes him at first. But when Dottie checks his temperature with a thermometer, it reads 30 degrees, even though he's sweating. Kathy still doesn't believe it. Kathy and Dottie talk in private, and Kathy shows her a picture of the snowman, pointing out that it's now missing. Dottie starts to think Jack might really be a snowman. They argue about it, but Kathy convinces Dottie that Jack is just a man with memory loss. They both go back to Jack and talk to him. When Dottie suggests Jack stay at the hospital, he says he wants to stay with Kathy because he trusts her. When Kathy asks why, Jack explains that she was the one who put the scarf on him, and ever since then, he has felt alive. Kathy takes Jack to her house and shows him how to use the TV before heading to the diner. Before she leaves, Jack stops her and thanks her for everything she's done for him. At the diner, Dr. Dottie asks Kathy about Jack, and Kathy says he's fine and watching TV. While they're talking, Sheriff Hunter comes in and mentions a robbery and someone roaming the streets naked. Kathy nervously asks if the person is dangerous. The sheriff says yes and tells her to report anything suspicious right away. But the deputy explains that the person didn't steal any money and isn't dangerous. Kathy feels relieved. While waiting and watching TV at Kathy's house, Jack gets scared and goes to the basement. There, he finds a photo of Kathy and her husband, along with some hospital reports about her husband. Later that night, Kathy comes home and is startled to see Jack in the kitchen wearing cooking clothes. She quickly brings him some proper clothes to wear. Kathy then asks him about the clothes he took from the store and realizes he did take them. Afterward, Jack cooks dinner for Kathy. While they eat, he asks her what happened to her husband. Kathy explains that her husband had cancer, and everything happened so quickly that she couldn't do anything to stop it. They share a meal together, and Jack hugs Kathy, thanking her for all she's done. While they're talking, Jack notices a leak in the house. In the morning, while Jack is fixing things around Kathy's house, an old lady crashes her car after spotting him. Jack sees the crash and hurries over to help her. The lady asks about him, and Jack explains that he's staying with Kathy. She then asks if he can help her with an electricity problem at her house. Jack hesitates, saying he shouldn't leave the house, but the lady assures him it's okay and that she knows Kathy well. Jack agrees and fixes the problem at her house. While he's there, Mel notices the scarf Jack is wearing and recognizes it as the one Kathy had. Jack offers to help with anything else, and one of the ladies mentions a job at the school. Jack then asks for a ride to Kathy's diner. At the diner, Kathy sees Jack with the ladies and tells him it's dangerous for him to be out. Jack points out the sheriff is standing outside. The sheriff comes in and starts questioning Jack about the robbery. Kathy quickly defends him and takes Jack away. The sheriff becomes suspicious. Outside, Kathy explains that it's a small town where everyone knows everyone, so Jack should stay at home and lay low. Jack says he can't stay home because he got a job at the school. Kathy tries to get him to cancel the job, but Jack refuses. This frustrates Kathy, and she drives him back to the house. That night, when Kathy gets home, she is surprised to see that the house is all fixed and decorated. She walks inside and thanks Jack for doing it. Jack explains that he just wants to make the most of every minute in his life. Kathy then agrees to let him take the job, and Jack gets excited. At the school, Jack is having fun and playing around. Kathy visits him there and sees how much the kids and everyone at school love him. She tells Jack how much she appreciates him. Later, in the car, Kathy opens up to Jack. She says she hasn't loved anyone since Paul and doesn't think she can love him. Jack tells her he appreciates her for who she is and that he just wants to make her happy. They drive to Kathy's diner, and Jack notices the glasses he ordered online have arrived. Kathy asks him how he paid for them. Jack says he doesn't know and thought they were a giveaway. Kathy then realizes the computer used her credit card information, and she gets the bill. Jack feels bad and apologizes. Kathy says it's okay because of all the help he's done around the house. Later, Jack apologizes to Mel and Theo for taking the glasses and clothes. He wants to make up for what he did by fixing it. Jack asks why they're not angry with him. Mel and Theo say it's because he came forward and admitted what he did. Jack replies, "Kathy is making me do it." The deputy sheriff visits Kathy and tells her that Jack looks just like the person in the wanted poster. Later, the sheriff and deputy sheriff go to Mel and Theo's store and see that the glass has been fixed. The sheriff is still hesitant about finding the suspect, even though Mel and Theo don't want to help. At school, Jack sees a boy asking a girl to the prom and gets an idea. He then goes to the deputy sheriff for advice. Jack asks how to ask Kathy out on a date, and the deputy tries to help him figure it out. At Kathy's house, Jack asks her out on a date, and she agrees. Kathy then takes him shopping. On Christmas evening, they get ready for the dance. Jack shows her a snowflake he bought online, and Kathy thanks him. Jack helps her put it on. At the school dance, Jack and the kids are having fun, but Kathy notices that Jack is melting, so she quickly takes him outside. Kathy tries to kiss him, but Jack pulls away. She asks him why, and Jack explains that he doesn't know how much time he has left and doesn't want to hurt her. They hug each other. The next day, the sheriff notices a camera on an ATM across from Mel and Theo's shop.
Who are you? Some youthful prankster? Or are you a deviant? Sorry, Merry Christmas. Does it have a camera on it? Does this bank machine have a camera on it? I got you now, you son of a...
That evening at Kathy's diner, just as she's about to give a speech, the sheriff stops her and confronts Jack about the stealing and breaking. He then arrests Jack, and everyone realizes he's a snowman. At the sheriff's office, the sheriff tries to take Jack's fingerprints, but he has none. Kathy stops him and asks the sheriff how much the bail is. The sheriff says $2,000. Kathy then asks the deputy sheriff for help. He takes her to the office, and everyone starts collecting money for the bail. They all try to convince the sheriff to let Jack go, and he agrees. But when they look inside, Jack is dead inside because of the heat. They bring him outside, and everyone thinks he is dead. Kathy kisses him goodbye, and just as Kathy is about to leave, Kathy and Jack realize that he has become a real human. They share a final kiss. Later, they fix their house and live happily ever after. The end. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe for more videos.